I'm ready. What are we talking about today?
I don't know. You never know, right? What I'm going to ask you. Welcome to the Artandhustle Gallery Conversations / Inspiring Conversations with Doc Sunny, my beautiful friend here. And also, I would like to let you know, I was listening to your last podcast and I found like a couple beautiful quotes from there.
Oh, yes.
That I wanted to just like chat with you quickly about it. It was beautiful. I loved it. And one of the ones that I loved, you know, like what sustains you. And then you said we have gifts that we don't open them. And then another one that really resonated with me is that you always ask God, what does he need you like to me, through me, and for me, which I thought was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, and for me, like I've never grew up in a fully religious household. There was no God or like Christianity or Catholic or anything. It was more like possibly Buddhism, but like, it was hard for me to believe in just that one singular thing. Like I feel like religion to me, like all of it to me is all the same, like from Mother Nature to God to this, like I feel like whatever you want to call it, I feel like it all encompasses to like the same thing to me, you know?
Yeah.
And for me growing up, it was hard to believe in God because like from my childhood, I was like, well, how can this happen to me if there was a God? Why would God let this happen?
Yeah.
You know? And then when my parents like started praying to like Buddhist things, and I'm like, what? Like that would perplex me too, of like, you are an evil person and you're praying and chanting and trying to be like a monk and studying all these Buddhism and trying to be a vegan. And I was like, what? It was like such contradictions to me, you know?
Yeah.
But I still appreciate all of it. And those quotes were just beautiful.
Well, I think my favorite one of those that you mentioned was the to me, through me, and for me.
Yeah.
Because so to your point that you were making before, like, how do we serve something higher than us that allows all of these evil things to happen? And I think it's mainly because this is what I believe, whether it's true or not, this is just what I believe, that the one thing that we as human beings have more than any other being on the planet is the choice.
Yes.
We have the power of choice, right? That we can choose. And I always got the feeling, or my understanding is that, you know, God wants us to choose. It's not something like, I want to force this on you. Like you have to believe, like you have to do these things. There's an opportunity of choice. So when I think of, you know, because people ask me that question, like, what do you think about bad things that happen? And I said, in the end, we all have choice, right? And unfortunately, the reality is that sometimes there are people who make really poor choices. And I can't explain why horrible things happen. And I would never even attempt to. One, because I'm not God. But two, I also think it's disrespectful and insensitive to someone who has gone through something tragic or traumatic to try to explain away as if anything could really justify what has happened to them.
Yeah.
So for me, the way I navigate traumatic experiences is through this concept of choice, right? That I have choice. Everyone else around me has choice. And I can choose what I believe about a situation.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make it a fact or make it so, but what it will do is create a different experience for me. So when I say the to, through, and for, whenever anything happens to me in my life, or when I look back at things that have happened to me in my life, I say, okay, God, what were you trying to do for me, right? Did something come out of it that is for my higher good, that had this situation not happened, something else wouldn't have happened?
Like a
what
lesson.
Like a lesson. What are you trying to get through me? Meaning, did this thing happen because what I'm going to do with it is going to bless someone else, right? So there's something in me that I house, that I hold, and without possibly this situation happening, what's in me would not get through me.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea is from me to someone else.
Yeah.
And then the last one is for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That I do always believe that there's a gift inside. There's the lesson, and then there's the gift inside of the lesson.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So what is that for me? Like, how is it going to change me? How is it going to transform me? What does it do for me?
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it all. But I really hope that people listen, recognize there's a lot of crappy stuff happening in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. That's why I just love that, because it's changing the perception of something that's happening, or whatever situation you're going through. It changes how you're looking at it. And one of the great podcasts I was listening to yesterday, I listened to it, I think 2 or 3 times. And this podcast,
really,
like a 2-hour podcast. So I just kept playing it and playing it. And it was Dr. Rungan with Mo, what's his last name? Mo something, but he's like super intelligent, like CEO of like Google X, and like made so much money from the age of like 29. He was like filthy rich, had everything in his life. He had the wife, he had 2 kids, he had all the money. He could be printing as much money as he wanted, he had everything, right? And he grew up in like Egypt and was like growing up here. So then he's got a mix of the 2, cultures, but he was clinically depressed.
Yeah, man.
So he, in turn, the podcast was about happiness. Like, he is like such a scientist coder that he actually eventually broke it down to how can you be happy.
Wow.
It was super fascinating. And one of the quotes, let me just see if I can find it, but one of the quotes he had said was super interesting of happiness. Happiness is a very mathematical equation. Happiness is events minus expectation. And he also said, pain will always happen.
Events minus expectation?
Happiness is a mathematical equation. Happiness is events minus expectations.
I love it.
Like, he had so many quotes. Another one was like, pain will always happen. We will have our fair share of pain in life. Suffering is a choice. Suffering is to feel the pain and replay it over and over in your head.
It's the choice part again.
Yes, that's why
the freaking choice.
That's why our conversations all coincide with other things that I listen to. And then he also said, anger only lasts 90 seconds. Then your rational brain will access. The most of us do is reinforce that reason and just keep playing it and keep being angry. But the actual physical manifestation of anger only lasts 90 seconds. And then we just keep doing it.
I love our conversation.
Right. So I'm just going to read some of these because these are just so fascinating. And then he also said about him is that he lost his son to appendicitis.
Oh my gosh.
To appendicitis, right? And he's a man who's got millions of, tons and tons of money. And then his son was like sick, and he just drove his son to the nearest hospital. It was like a routine, like,
of course,
like everybody. So
yes.
But then the course of 5 tragic events that happened during the time that he was getting the operation, he died. Internal bleeding, his organs started failing, all of it, right? So how does someone like this find happiness through this? Because he's been studying happiness. So he's like, what are the expectations of someone dying? It's 100%. Everyone will die. What's the expectation of a parent losing a child? And what's the expectations of appendicitis going wrong? And he said, I will be honest, I spoke to my brother, and he was a surgeon. And he said, I asked him, is this even possible? And his brother cried and said, surgeons are humans too. When you make a mistake in business, you lose a deal. But when we make a mistake in here, as a surgeon, you lose a patient.
Lose a life. It is, the human experience is so fragile and powerful all at the same time.
Yeah.
And the part about the expectations is the one that gets me, because in the work that my husband and I do with couples, that is one of the biggest lessons that we try to teach couples.
To not have those expectations, or?
It's to be mindful of your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not mindful of your expectations, you could be projecting certain expectations on your significant other.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, when they don't meet those expectations, that's where conflict happens.
Yeah.
Disagreement. That's where hurt feelings come from, right? Because, oh, I thought you were going to do this for me.
Yeah.
As opposed to, if there was something you wanted, you could have asked for it. Yeah. So even in that, right? Even in the I think one of my podcasts was the power of the ask.
Right? Oh, I love that.
How many things in life do we miss out on because we don't want to ask?
Yes.
We don't want to ask for help. We don't want to ask for support. We don't, it's funny because like you take driving in the car. Like I'm a person, like if I'm lost, I'm going to stop and ask somebody. I don't have to, because I think of it at this point, the amount of time that I would spend driving around trying to figure it out myself. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. You live here. Can you tell me how to get to the street that I'm going to?
Yeah.
But there are people that will drive and drive and drive and never stop and ask for help. But it is such a powerful, like, understanding of this concept of expectations, right? That we think we have expectations of ourselves.
Yes.
Well, I should know this. I shouldn't be here in my life. I should be somewhere else. I should be further along.
Yeah.
Right. I should have known not to date that person.
Yeah.
I should have known not to. It's all hindsight and it's all BS.
Yes. And it's your brain like playing tricks on you of like constantly trying to run this story of like, you should have did this, you should have did this, because the whole purpose of your brain is trying to help you like survival mode of like to not do something to like harm you. So it's going to keep replaying those things to let you know, all right, so next time, here's a red flag. Next time, don't do this. Next time when, so it's going to keep giving you all those little clues. So it's going to drive you crazy.
Well, it drives you crazy mainly because sometimes we don't listen, right? So remember what I said, the things that happen to us in life are to get something to us, through us, or for us.
Yeah.
And we're either going to learn or we're just going to repeat.
Yes.
We're either going to learn or we're going to repeat, right? So even with my family recently, probably in the last couple of years, that part about expectations is so powerful. I had a conversation with my mom about it maybe 2 or 3 months ago. We were having a conversation about somebody and she thought someone was going to do something for her. And she was like upset and she was expressing it to me. And I said, Ma, the downfall of life is really having expectations for people as opposed to believing people who they are.
Yeah.
And loving them for who they are, right?
Yeah.
If I know that I have a friend that is never on time, I have 2 choices.
Yeah.
I can tolerate them being late all the time and not have any expectations, right? Or I can make a decision and say, this is a deal breaker for my friendship.
Yeah.
And I don't want to engage like this anymore.
Yeah.
But oftentimes we treat life as if we don't have choices.
Yes. Yes. That's huge. It's huge. I mean, it's a huge thing for me to learn those things too, because I've always kind of went on autopilot of things I needed to always succeed and do, and the expectations of my parents and expectations of like finding a partner, finding a husband, finding, the perfect job. So there was so much expectations that I have on life and the partner. But then like, I didn't get the full tools of like boundaries and choices. It was more like, just find that person, then you'll be good.
Oh yeah.
And like, I didn't know all the other tools that went with it, like I just needed to know, I just needed that person. Like, cause society also makes women feel like if you don't have a man, then you're nothing. You know what I mean? If you don't have the house, perfect job, or children, you're nothing. So like, I think I was more into the image of like, okay, I need to check off all the boxes and, the expectations of all that, then I'll be good and I'll be happy. But no,
that didn't work either.
No.
That didn't work either. It's, I'm interested in hearing more about, his scientific
Oh, it's
breakdown of happiness,
fascinating. Yes.
because I really believe that we all are just trying to get to that place of happiness,
Yeah.
still thinking that it's something external outside of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And his whole thing was, no, it's all internal. It's all your perception of it. It's all how you think about it. It's all in the practices of also like, training yourself of like, it's like going to the gym. Like it's a muscle that you have to keep developing. And it's perfect for me now that I have to retrain my brain. I have to retrain boundaries. I have to retrain like my expectations, and then also be gentle and have grace of like not being like so hard on myself when I don't get it.
Yeah. 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 And the part about it being a muscle, that part,
Huge.
because it doesn't mean that there aren't mornings when I wake up and I look at the treadmill or I look at the exercise machine and I want to like give it the finger and be like,
Yeah.
I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Yeah.
I think people have an expectation again, that somehow happiness is just going to be there and it's going to be there forever.
Yeah.
As opposed to, no, sometimes your mind is going to play with you and you're going to have these moments where you're like, well, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Not realizing that you can change your emotion in any moment, any given moment.
Yeah. Like one thing I did the other day to like try to jolt myself out of it. Like one great thing that I love doing is just moving furniture.
Like, are you serious?
Yeah. So like if I'm stuck and depressed or whatever, I literally will move like everything, like in my office, in my bedroom. And these are like super heavy furniture where like
are you moving it to like redesign it? What are you doing?
I'm moving it to like rearrange the furniture.
So like feng shui, are you changing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, so I'll move the bed, I'll move the couch, I'll move like the TV, whatever's not like super heavy, I'll move all, but it's usually like the bed and the tables, and I'll just move it all around. And so the feng shui and the changes of the energy of that helps me change my perception and be able to focus better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did the other day. And then I took out an Anthony Robbins book and then sat in the sun and just read it because it was like 100 pages, like a short one.
Yeah.
So I read that. So like he's all about like trying to help you change your mind and perception. So that helps.
He does a lot of work around that, like that neuro work, the brain and the body, that is extremely beneficial to get people out of ruts, to get you out of routines that may be, that routines that kind of keep you stuck.
Yeah.
And one of the things I have some of my clients do, not all of them, but sometimes when clients come and they are, they're feeling stuck on their job, or they're feeling, just stuck in a whatever space that is. I call it divine chaos.
Yeah.
I always tell them, change something really simple about your day.
Yeah.
And they don't get it until they actually start doing it. So like some of the things I'll tell them to do, change the way you drive to work.
Yep.
So if you go to work the same way every day, go a different route.
Yeah.
Because what it does, the brain, because we're such habitual beings, that when you are in habit around something and then you're feeling stuck in the habit, it's hard for you to imagine that there is something else out there for you. So another thing I tell them to do is like change some colors in your wardrobe. So if you're a person that's like all black and gray and for work, I say for women, I say add like a piece of jewelry that adds a pop of color, or just put on a blouse that's a little bit brighter, because what it tells the brain is, oh, there's something different.
That's how I feel when I change furniture or whatever. That exactly switches my brain to be like, okay, we have something to focus on. Like, let's get our taxes done. That was the goal of me moving furniture. I'm like, oh my God, I need to focus. Okay, let me just move everything, clean everything.
To get your taxes done?
Yeah, to get my taxes done. So it's almost there. It's almost there.
Good luck. Good
Mm-hmm.
luck. But that change, right? It jolts you. It like pulls you up out of whatever that consistent spiral is.
Yeah.
But the part about my podcast that you were talking about, even with the gifts, right? Many times we have gifts if we're stuck in a rut, or we're not feeling happy, or we're not feeling like ourselves, until you actually do something with that gift.
Yeah.
You don't know you have no idea what's possible.
Yep.
None of us have any idea what's possible. Absolutely none of us. Even when we think of how much do we think we know? Like I always ask people that in my trainings, how much do you actually think you know about everything?
Not a lot.
It's not a lot.
Not a lot.
Some people are like, oh, about 10%. I was like, no, it's probably like 0.00.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we don't even use that much of our brain. What do we use? Like what, 10%, 8%, something really, really minute that we actually use our brain. So like, no, you don't know a lot of stuff. No.
But until you like take a risk, until you change things up, until you do something different, you don't even know what's possible, right?
Yeah.
And it's when you start to get in the flow of doing something. It's like running. I hate it when I start.
I hate running.
I hate it when I start, like halfway through, after I get past the pain in my legs, all of a sudden something else takes over and you're in your zone. And for me, it's, I think what you do, what I do is just trying to help people to get in their zone.
Yeah.
To find their flow.
To take action. I mean, one of the things that Anthony Robbins' key word is the action.
Yeah.
And also changing the words that you tell yourself. So he had, there was a worksheet in there that said like, okay, so if you're sad, depressed, all of these words that you're feeling, try to change it so it's a little bit, more positive of like, if you're, I forgot, I wrote it down, but like if you're depressed, like you can be like, a word would be like, I'm evolving.
Yeah.
Instead of angry, you're peeved. So like, it's less like angry. You can't be peeved for too long. You can only be peeved for a short period of time. So he's like changed the narrative of the words that you constantly use to just something different. And then it shifts your brain to be like, oh, okay. Instead of just saying like, how are you doing? I'm good. No, I'm phenomenal. I'm great. I'm fabulous. Like it makes you feel like, all right, well, even if I don't feel good, I'm fabulous. Like it's all right. I'm breathing, I'm alive, I'm here. So it's all good. Even, in the shit, it's still good.
Well, that part is really so cool, Linda. Like even, I think people automatically assume that if you are in turmoil or you're frustrated or things aren't going your way, that you can't be okay in those spaces.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, like, if we're still here, everybody's going through some crap.
Yeah.
All of us.
Everybody.
And we're still here. Everyone probably has a story, like to be able to say, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember this time in my life. I remember when my car almost got repoed. I remember when I was homeless. But then you think you're like, I'm still here. Oh God, it's so fun. All of our talks always think they like spiral. So I was watching, one of my favorite shows is Queen Sugar.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't watched that. I maybe watched a little bit of it. I don't know if I watched all of it.
So good. It's in its final season. And this week's episode, one of the characters, she was talking and she said, sometimes we're always so caught up in our vision of what we want ahead of us and our dreams ahead of us that we don't realize that we're living in our dream now.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it.
Right. And the fact that if you're living in your dream now, yes, you should still have goals. Yes, you should still plan. Yes, you should still want things. But sometimes we get so caught up, we forget to be present in the moment. And even to the point, like crap will happen in life.
All the time. Just like there's always pain. It's your choice if you want to keep suffering.
Yes. Yes.
There was a beautiful quote. Dr. Rungan was having an interview with Edith Egan. Who, you ever heard of her?
Yes.
Yes. So she was in a Nazi camp. I think she was 16. She was possibly a ballerina. And then she was sent to Auschwitz or whatever. And one of the quotes that she said to Dr. Rungan that basically changed his whole mentality is that she said, the greatest prison you will ever live in is the prison you create inside your mind.
Yep.
Insane. That reminds, there was one more thing in Anthony Robbins' book that also pertains to the Nazi camp too, is like, there was a guy in the Nazi camp and he kept thinking to himself, like, he has to get out of here. He has to get out of here. So he would talk to everybody, like, we have to figure a way out. We have to get out, right? And everyone's like, are you crazy? Like, there's no way out. No way out, right? He's like, no, we have to find a way out. We have to find a way out. So that was his mentality constantly of, how can I find a way out? Instead of, I'm stuck here, instead of in the mentality of like, we're going to die. We're never going to get out, right? Because like, if you're in that, that's all really that you're going to think. If people around you are dying, being taken to the gas chamber, you only naturally going to think, I'm going to die. But his mindset was always, how can I get out? So the great thing of that mindset is when you set your mind to a target of, I'm going to get out, you only see the escape routes, right? You're really going to only see the things that you need, right?
Yes.
So he saw a bunch of people getting taken, to the gas chamber, and they piled all of these naked bodies onto, a truck or a pile, right? And he knows that they're going to take these bodies out. So what does he do? He waited till everybody left, took off his clothes, and jumped in the pile of dead, rotting bodies. So they took those bodies, took them to the gravesite, to like an open pit, drop them in, and he waited till everybody leaves, and he just ran and escaped. And that just fascinating, just fascinating. It's amazing.
It's fascinating because he wasn't waiting for someone to come do something for him. All he did was change his mindset.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, well, it's not funny, but the conversation is interesting because my mom raised my brothers and I.
Your target of like looking at, okay, this is the way out. So how do I get it?
Yeah. So I was saying my mom, that she raised my brothers and I, like she was a fanatic about words, a fanatic, right? She never, like, when we were growing up, that's when there was a lot of slang, right? There was like, oh, you come into my crib, right? Yeah. She hated it so badly. She was like, do not call my house a crib. And now that I'm an adult, right, and I understand the power of words, I understood what she was saying, because in her mind, when she heard the word crib, she visually saw a small space. And she was like, you don't live in a crib, and a crib is a cramped space where they put a baby, right? And it's funny that you were saying about the words, the power of the words, because that's how my mom raised us. Like, she never allowed us to say things like, oh, I'm broke. She was like, pipes are broken. Yeah. She's like, toilets are broke. She's like, bones break. Yeah. She was like, if you want to talk about your money, she say, right now, I'm not liquid. Right now, I'm building my resources back. Like, just as Tony Robbins said, you just alter what it is. Yeah. Because for her, she was like, your mind is going to believe everything you say, and everything you say, your behavior will follow. So what that man did when he was like, we're getting out of here, I'm getting out of here, I'm getting out of here, his mind was constantly, like you said, looking for a way out. Yeah. It was constantly like, I'm getting out. So which way is out?
Yeah. Like, there has to be a route. There has to be a way. Like, I never heard that story. Like, to do, like, take off your clothes and jump into all the dead bodies, and that was your way out. Like, that is like fascinating, a miracle, and just and he didn't even,
and the funny thing is, we're hearing his story back and we're like, oh my God, he jumped in with dead bodies. Like, the details of it for us are like, wow. But I'm sure for him, all he heard was way out, way out,
yeah,
way out, way out.
Yeah.
Way out, right? Being naked with other dead bodies can't compare to
we're getting out. We're getting out. That's it.
That's it. That
was it. Yeah, it was. There was another one in his book. It said that he was taking like race car driving lessons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guy was like, okay, so we have to. The main thing is to figure out how to get out of when it spins out of control.
Yeah,
that's the main thing you need to learn. And so the tip that the teacher was saying, that you have to focus away from the wall. You have to focus on where you're going. Like, keep your eye, whatever you do, don't look at the wall, look at where you're gonna go. But automatically when you're going in a tailspin, you're gonna be like, oh my God, I don't wanna hit the wall. I don't wanna hit the wall. I don't wanna hit the wall. And then you hit the wall, And so he would have to like yell at him, but like turn your head to where, like he would have to really physically turn his head, or yell at him to turn his head, because all you're naturally thinking is like, oh my God, I don't want to hit the wall. But eventually he realized, okay, if I just focus on
where you want to go,
I'm supposed to be going, my hands and my body automatically will follow.
Wow.
Because your eye's going this way. So like, okay, so I just have to, they'll just follow you. Everything will follow that way. So I was like, wow, that's so
cool. Oh yeah.
I just love
everything follows stories. Everything follows the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Everything follows the brain. This is crazy. My daughter, she runs cross country, and last week she was about to break her best time. So she's coming towards the end of the race. I'm at the finish line. I see her. I'm looking at the clock. So I know what her personal record is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, she's going to like break it even more. But like, in addition, she's already broke it this season, like over 1:30, which is pretty fast.
Wow.
I was like, she's going to do it again. I start yelling, go, go, go. You got this. You got this. And her coach starts yelling, time, time, time. So when she finishes the race, I was like, oh my God, coach was telling you to look at the clock. And she was like, no, he actually was telling me not to look at the clock. Oh. She said, because when I look at the clock while I'm running, she said, my body will start to slow down to the seconds of the clock, as opposed to just looking straight and keeping my speed
possible instead of that. Wow.
Instead of slowing down. So to what you're saying, if I don't want to hit the wall, I'm the racer and I don't want to hit the wall, I'm not going to continue to look at the wall. I'm going to turn my attention away, because my body is going to go to where my attention goes.
Yeah.
This is so good. My mentor out of California, all these things are coming to my mind. My mentor in California, Kevin Ross, he says, energy flows where attention goes.
I love that. See, look at these quotes. I just love these quotes. Wait, say that again. Say it again. I just love it.
Energy goes where attention flows. And he would always say, Sunrise, where you put your energy, where you put your attention is where energy will go. So if you put your attention to, oh, I don't have enough money. Oh, I don't know if anyone's going to support me. Oh, he's like, what's going to happen is energy, meaning your physical, mental, spiritual, emotional energy is going to flow in the direction of where your attention is.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. See, these conversations you're like, so it's funny because you're like, what are we talking about today? I'm like, I don't know, but I saw this podcast, and let me tell you some of the quotes that I wrote down from the podcast, and then we just run from there, right?
It's really life-changing. I think this journey, even with the podcast, it's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. It's beautiful in a way that I don't know who's watching. I don't know who's going to watch.
Yeah.
But I do know that people who watch are going to leave better.
Yes. Yes. Because if we are getting something out of it, I feel like others who watch will get something out of it as well. And to me, like, I don't know who's watching it, but like, to me, it's helping me. So if it's going to help me, it's got to help somebody else. And eventually it'll just keep flowing and can help the next person who watches, and that person sends it to somebody else, and it'll keep moving forward. The momentum.
Oh, yeah.
Momentum.
the momentum without any expectation.
Without any expectation. Exactly. Because I'm always trying to get to like 1,000 subscribers and get the watch hours and all of that. So that is a goal of mine, you know, to eventually get to add things, but it's more of the purpose of it. And to me, I'm enjoying it and it's fulfilling for me. So it's okay. If I get there, I get there. I'm not like too stressed about it, you know. Eventually it'll get there because we're doing good. We're helping. It's a service for other people.
And you know, when things evolve, it starts off one way, but it'll always evolve into something else with consistent attention, right? Because the energy will flow that way. And growth will take place. And you'll turn around one day and be like, oh my God, look, like I remember when I dropped the first one. That's what I just keep thinking about mine. Like, I remember when I did the first one and I was thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, what do I ask? And what do I do? And then I was just like, the first one, it will always look different from the 100th. Right? It'll grow, it'll evolve. But if we spend all of our time wondering, oh, is someone going to like it? Oh, is someone having unrealistic expectations for that thing? And we'll always be in that same space, never moving, never growing, and never really fulfilling our purpose and our dreams.
People get stuck on it, but you just have to try it and go. And to like you just said, you said like, oh, the 100th one's not going to look like the first one. So I'm happy to say that I'm almost to my 100th one.
Are you really?
Yes.
What?
Crazy? Yeah, I'm almost.
That is crazy.
I'm almost to the 100th one. So
you have to do like a montage of like some of your best like snippets from what people said and like clip them all together.
That's what I'm trying to do, because like there's so many gems and quotes that are in the podcast. So like I have to try to clip them when I do like the edits, and then eventually I can grab it. But there's just so much. So now there's it's like 100 of them that I have to figure out like the best of the best, right?
But
it's gonna be exciting. It's almost 100.
See, you got to do a celebration. We got to do some afternoon champagne. We have to, you know, raise a glass, but people have to just get out there and do it. So that's what we say to the viewers. Just get out there, do it.
Take action.
Change your routine. Don't have any expectations today. Utilize your gifts, right?
Exactly.
All of the above.
I love it. That's perfect. So that is the perfect advice for everybody. Take action, drive a different way. Any small action will like lead you right into the direction that you want to go. Just keep focusing on that target.
I agree. Focusing on the target. Don't look at where you don't want to go. Focus on where you do want to go.
So I'm a prime example. So I'm gonna do that. I gotta keep focusing on the target.
Gems dropped today. I think we dropped a few gems today.
There are so many gems every single time I chat with you, which I love because it's such a beautiful, like casual conversation, you know, and it's just beautiful. There's always gems.
I agree.
Thank you so much again. So till next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.